Welcome to the Full Moon Film Buff, episode 82. We're going to talk about Curse of the Queerwolf from 1988. I watched this on Tubi. I had not seen this before. We're going to start with the prominent crew and cast. This film was written and directed by Mark Pirro. Mark Pirro wrote, directed, and starred in A Polish Vampire in Burbank in 1983 for a cost of just $2,500 and saw it gross more than $500,000 in sales. He became a major figure in independent cinema. We'll see him again since he wrote My Mom's a Werewolf for Crown International Pictures. A documentary about Pirro's life and career, Hollywood on a Shoestring, premiered at the Raindance Film Festival in London in 2023. The cast includes Michael Palazzo as Larry Smallbutt, Mark Butler as Richard Cheese, Taylor Whitney as Lois Gerstel, Cynthia Brownell as Paula McFarland, Sharon Alsina as Madame Muddycooch. This is the only movie Michael Palazzo appeared in, as best as I can tell. In fact, most of the cast acted in very few movies. Most for Mark Pirro's Pirro Mount production company. One interesting note is that the original male-to-female transvestite in the film is played by a woman, Cynthia Brownell. Forrest J. Ackerman makes a brief cameo. We talked more about Forey back when we discussed Mad Monster Party from 1967. Do I recommend this movie? Here's my dilemma. There are three different ways to interpret this film. One is as a mockery of ignorant homophobes and toxic masculine insecurity. The next is as a mockery of homosexuals, trans people, and gay culture. The third is a mockery of both. Any way you slice it, the movie is mean-spirited, even if it occasionally is funny, and it is. I think it's trying to make fun of everyone, which I guess is the best of the three scenarios. Yay? I mean, I don't see any way you can interpret Larry as a good guy. But the film also constantly reduces gays and trans people to their most basic stereotypes. There are occasional funny visual elements and the odd clever pun, but they're not worth the time spent. There is a really bad running joke about accidentally killing dogs that I hated, and another one about Dick unintentionally killing his patients. I don't recommend this film. This isn't the first appearance of the Queerwolf. The Queerwolf first appeared in a cameo in Mark Pirro's first hit, A Polish Vampire in Burbank. So now let's cover the synopsis. A small torch-bearing mob slowly chases an individual in lingerie. Credits roll. Cut to one night earlier. Larry leaves a sleazy strip club early 1 a.m. to get home to his girlfriend, Lois. Larry is a cheating jerk. His misogynistic friend, Dick, consistently tries to get Larry to pick up women with him. The next evening, the pair bring a couple ladies back to Dick's bachelor pad. Larry's date turns out to be the transvestite named Paul McFarland, who bites him on the butt. Larry threatens Paul with violence. At this point, the mob from the beginning of the movie shows up. Paul runs. We find out Paul is a lycanthrope, aka the titular Queerwolf. One mob member, Paul's father, explains that Paul used to be a straight man until he was bitten. Oh no. Larry has a dream with a banjo song full of euphemisms for gay sex. Two hillbillies make terrible jokes about a particularly difficult scene from Deliverance. Larry hits a stereotypical gypsy with his car who tells him that he is marked by the pansygram. That night, the full moon rises and Larry transforms. He wakes up next morning in a gay bathhouse. Larry seeks out the gypsy fortune teller for help. She tells him the only way to end his life is with a silver dildo. The only way to prevent the transformations is to wear a truly tacky John Wayne medallion. The four-man mob shows up while Larry is intimate with Lois. They wait until the pair are asleep and then break in to kill them with their silver sex toy. It's pretty gross. Luckily, they are convinced that Lois isn't a woman and they leave. But then they worry that maybe they were mistaken about the person they attempted to sexually assault's genitalia. They want to be sure. They take Larry and Lois out to dinner. What? Where thieves stage a robbery. Larry would rather die than transform again. It's confirmed that traditional weapons cannot hurt him, and Larry saves the night. However, in the aftermath, the medallion chain breaks. Larry transforms in front of the crowd. Before the mob can get him, he bites 8 men in the restaurant, who all immediately transform. Now they outnumber the mob. Of course, the Queerwolves attack the mob, converting them too. Larry runs home, where the gypsy has found a sexorcist. Larry kills the gypsy during the sexorcism, but manages to transfer the curse to the priest, who runs off. Larry is cured just in time to be hauled off to prison for homicide. Oh, God. The movie ends with a prison rape joke as credits roll. Let's talk about the transformation. I gotta give this a little credit. Classic werewolf transformations clearly inspired this metamorphosis. Of course, he's not turning into a wolf, he's turning into a transvestite. They focus on his hands, but he grows long cherry red fingernails instead of wicked claws. They focus on his mouth, but he manifests lipstick instead of growing fangs. And so on. It was honestly pretty inventive. Not worth the time it took to get there, but I would call this the film's high point. However, it's also not a werewolf at all. So I'm not spending a lot of time describing his drag outfit. Sorry. There is no werewolf lore. Absolutely nothing that I am interested in discussing related to the werewolf. But I do want to talk for a second about offensive comedy. I'm a big proponent of the idea that comedy must risk offending people to be truly effective. Comedy at its core is a powerful art form, challenging societal norms and exposing uncomfortable truths. From the biting wit of Shakespeare to the boundary-pushing act of Lenny Bruce and Richard Pryor, great comedy always risks offending certain groups to shine an unforgiving light on the flaws of human nature and the hypocrisies pervading society. The essence of comedy lies in its ability to parody topics evoking strong emotions, whether politics, religion, cultural identities, or personal insecurities. While this inherent irreverence carries the risk of offending, avoiding it would strip comedy of its transgressive spirit and its capacity to unsettle and upset entrenched ways of thinking. The best comedians don't simply go for cheap laughs by punching down at a marginalized group from dominant perspectives. Rather, they use the inherent irreverence of comedy to upend entrenched beliefs and skewer abuses of power across any layer of the social strata. From Lenny Bruce being arrested for obscenity for his profane satire exposing societal hypocrisy, to Richard Pryor's no-holds-barred examinations of racial dynamics in America, to Dave Chappelle's pushing audiences to confront their own biases through an audacious social commentary, comedy unafraid of offending has consistently catalyzed social progress and self-reflection. True comedic brilliance stems from the talent and courage to navigate the blurred lines between laughter and discomfort, ultimately revealing deeper universal insights. Many great comedians have hailed from marginalized or persecuted groups, finding humor in confronting personal and cultural traumas, from the Jewish comedic lineage of Groucho Marx and Mel Brooks to LGBTQ icons like Eddie Izzard and Ellen DeGeneres, to Dave Chappelle and Ali Wong reframing Black and Asian American experiences with perceptive wit. Their ability to find laughter in adversity has transformed comedy into a resonant counterpoint to the dominant social narrative that often oppresses, distorts, or tokenizes their identities. Not all comedic attempts will resonate with every audience member, and audiences should withhold preemptive condemnation of comedians exploring difficult themes or provocative perspectives. If a comedian's work fails to amuse, the audience can simply vote with their attention and money. Great comedic works spark passionate debates and momentary outrage for their willingness to challenge sacred cows and tackle thorny subject matter that some find distressing. From Jonathan Swift's A Modest Proposal to the boundary-demolishing films of Mel Brooks to comedians like Sarah Silverman or Shane Gillis today, audiences ought to develop higher levels of discernment to appreciate comedy's intrinsically irreverent nature. Coddling or censoring comedy out of fear of offense is antithetical to its very purpose. Truly great comedy always risks offending some to enlighten many more. However, not all offensive material qualifies as insightful or intelligently provocative. Some simply offends without entertaining. I didn't find Curse of the Queerwolf funny enough or insightful and intelligently provocative enough. It offends more than it enlightens. Still, there has to be room for the attempt. So I will always defend that creative freedom to try, even if in the end, I'm not a big fan of the result. So in conclusion, if you like lycanthropes, like, share, and subscribe. Contribute your thoughts and additional observations in the comments below. Let me know what I missed or what you noticed. Next, I plan on discussing Lone Wolf from 1988. Keep your eye on the moon, a silver bullet in the chamber, and we'll see you back next episode.